it's Megan or themeowthvader, and today we are making Kimchi Jjigae and attempting to make musubi. So, what you need for Kimchi Jjigae is half a cup of kimchi, along with 2 tablespoons of juice, but you can add more of the juice. I added everything that was left in my container because it was about like half a cup to a cup in the container and it needed to get used. The more sour the kimchi, the better for the stew. So keep that in mind. If you have some older kimchi and some newer kimchi, use the older one. After that, you need a heaping teaspoon of garlic or a crushed clove of garlic. Since I have minced, I just used the minced garlic. And then you put it in the pan and you cook it a little bit. And then you add a teaspoon of gochugaru or red chili powder and a tablespoon of gochujang or red chili paste. So you add them all together while everything is cooking so that it all melds together. And then you add 2 cups of water. If that doesn't look like enough or you think it's too spicy, you can add a little bit more water. Alternatively, you can use less of the spicy powders or paste. And then you just let that cook together until it comes to a boil. So you can add tuna or tofu or spam to this. I usually add spam and tofu, but because I made a smaller batch than I normally do, I just added the spam. And it was more than enough for the stew. So you want to cube up your spam. I set aside 4 thin pieces for the musubi because musubi is like fried spam over rice. So I cut a few pieces of spam and put them to the side because I knew I didn't need the whole container because in Korea the containers of spam are actually smaller than in America. So I sized it down to what I thought was appropriate. After this, you just throw it into the stew and let it all combine together. So I really like the way Kimchi Jjigae tastes. I think that it is super flavorful, it's spicy. It has that nice kimchi funk, which sounds terrible, but it tastes amazing. And it's warm and comforting. It's great with rice. And while it doesn't look pretty, it tastes good. It's like a comfort food almost for me. And I feel like that's kind of an important thing to remember, is that just because something looks bad doesn't mean it's going to end up being bad. After it gets to boiling, I would turn down the heat. I ended up going from like a medium heat to a low heat on this, and then I added all of the spam. And like I said, it probably doesn't look very appetizing, but it tastes amazing and it smells so good. And it's important not to judge a book by its cover. While some books may look terrible, they might actually be really good and just have bad cover art, bad publishers. But these could still be good books. This kind of goes with everything in life. I'm sure you've heard this before as a child, not to judge a book by its cover. So the last thing I added was a little bit of sesame oil. Sesame oil is key in most Korean cooking, so you'll find at least a little bit of sesame oil in all Korean cooking. And you should finish it off with green onions. I did not, because I didn't have green onions. But yeah. So another thing to talk about is the importance of trying new things. I had never made musubi before, but I love the way it tastes, and the restaurant that I normally buy it from is closed until further notice because of the pandemic. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn to make this myself. So in order to make the sauce that you put on the pieces of Spam before you fry them, it is a teaspoon of sugar, a tablespoon of soy sauce, and a tablespoon of oyster sauce. And you just mix all of those together. And then you smear them on both sides of the Spam and then fry the Spam. Make sure to put as even a layer as possible. It's really runny, so it should be pretty easy. And then don't throw out the rest of the sauce because you use it as the adhesive between the Spam and the rice, because this is served kind of like a giant rectangular piece of sushi with rice and seaweed or nori. So here I am putting it into the pan. If the pan is hot, it should cook up pretty fast because the pieces are thin. So you want to have it probably on like medium heat so they don't burn before they cook all the way through. And then you'll flip them once, and after that you will be done cooking it, and you can set it aside until your rice is ready. So going back to trying and failing, the tongs did not work. It was very slippery, but it's fine. I found a spatula, everything flipped. It was all good. I had a few bobbles while making this, and I felt like I didn't do a great job, but it still tasted really good, and I'm proud of myself for trying. I feel like it's always important to try, and even if it maybe doesn't go as planned or doesn't look the way you want it to, you should still feel proud of yourself and satisfied with the job that you did. And it's important to remember that the product will not always be pretty, but being able to figure out how to do it and getting it done and then learning for next time are all very important things. Okay, so this bowl is meant for the rice in the rice cooker. So if you want the rice to be sticky, you need to use short grain rice. Short grain rice is sticky, long grain rice is not. It has to do with the starch content in the rice. If you use short grain rice, like sushi rice, make sure that you rinse the rice first before you use it to get rid of any extra starchiness. So with the rice, you want to add a little bit of rice vinegar to it. Not too much, because as with most vinegars, rice vinegar overpowers everything very easily. So I added probably about a half tablespoon or like a teaspoon just to give it a little bit more flavor. After that, you want to make sure the rice is cool, because If not, you will burn yourself while trying to make a little rectangle of rice for your Spam to sit on. Also, the rice is sticky. It will stick to your hands. So what you want to do is make sure that you wet your hands. Otherwise, as you can see, it just sticks, and my finger was covered in rice. So I was impatient and I did not wait for the rice to cool, so I was quickly trying to form the little rice bed for the Spam. I also forgot to put the sauce adhesive, and I wrapped it the wrong way. So overall, it was just a kind of a mess, and this was my first try, and as you can see, it was a total fail. But the important thing is that I tried and I learned, and by the last one, it was great. And regardless, they all tasted fantastic, which is the most important part. So in conclusion, if something doesn't look great, if you feel like you failed, just learn from it and try again. And no matter what, everything will be super tasty. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.